Hi everyone, welcome to the info session of AgriFood Systems Hack. My name is Marta and I would like to welcome you on behalf of the entire organizing team, including Catherine, Jacques, Evelyn and Marcos who are in the chat. With me here in the live room are Leonard and Grace, and the technical host is Elisa. So today, with this event, we hope to inspire you to join the AgriFood Systems Hack. And we also would like to give you all the practical information so that you are well prepared for the hackathon. We will start with a short presentation of Leonard about regenerative agriculture, because that's the topic of the hackathon. And then I will give you some information about the practicalities. And Grace is here to share the participant perspective since she has been participating in a biodiversity hackathon. There will be also plenty of time for your questions. So feel free to share them in the chat. And Elisa will be sorting them out. And also, we encourage you to interact in the chat. So, for instance, it would be great if you let us know who you are and where are you joining from today. I think this is a little bit of it for the introduction. And I would like to give the floor to Leonard, who is a researcher soil and farming systems at Wageningen University. Leonard, floor is yours. I'm going to change the presentation.
Thanks a lot, Marta. I hope everyone can hear me. My microphone should be on. So my name is Leonard Fuchs. I'm a researcher soil and farming systems, as Marta already said, and I'm also project lead at the Farm of the Future project. And I'm an applied researcher in the Wageningen University and Research Field Crops Unit. So we do a lot of applied research on arable farming, mostly in the Netherlands, in the Dutch context. But from that, it's also relevant for sure for the whole EU, Europe setting. So I was asked to give you a little bit of a short talk about the future of our agri-food system and also the role of regenerative, the concept of regenerative in that. So I will give a short introduction on that, and then there's plenty of room to ask some questions as well. So first of all, the context and why do we need changes in our agriculture and agri-food system? Well, this is a picture of the concept of the planetary boundaries, and they indicate that we have passed the safe zones, to say, by far, and our food system and our agro-food system does play a big role in that. Looking at the pictures here, you see mostly on the concepts of genetic diversity and the biogeochemical flows, nitrogen and phosphorus, that agriculture, or at least that are effects of our agriculture and food system. And related to genetic diversity, for example, 75% of our global food comes from only 12 major crops, of which the biggest are wheat, rice, and maize. So that's, well, one of the challenges we're looking at. We have to see how can we shape our agri-food system in such a way that we can stay within the planetary boundaries as well. And that's also where the concept of regenerative agriculture can play a role. So what are the 4 major challenges in our agri-food system? I was involved in a study of which you can see the picture. It's called Were Perspectives on Agriculture, Food and Nature. If you Google it, you can find the report. And part of that report was about, okay, what are the different visions about the future of our agri-food system, and what do they agree on? Of course, there's different visions on the future of our agri-food system, then there's also differences, but actually the interesting part is where there's a lot of similarities. So they all agree that the 4 major challenges in our agri-food system are climate change, biodiversity restoration, food security, and public health. So with climate change, you can think of our weather extremes, but also changing climate can lead to more problems with pests and diseases, and cropping and agriculture just doesn't go as predictable as we used to be. Regarding to biodiversity restoration, it's a difficult thing because agriculture, our food system needs biodiversity needs to thrive, but at the same time, if we're not doing it in a as good way, it can also have negative effects on this biodiversity. Food security is about having enough food for a growing population, but also about how to share this with it between all the people. And you can look at food security globally, but maybe it's even more important to look at it also locally or within certain regions. So how can the EU be food secure for itself and also to be less dependent on other, well, on the political flows, geopolitical flows. And public health, obviously, how do we make sure that we produce and we consume the right things that are also good for our health? So this is a broad range of challenges, and these are major challenges globally and regionally. There can be more specific challenges as well. But there's a broad range of challenges which definitely asks for an integral or holistic approach on our agri-food system. So to work from a food system approach is very important. So then zooming a bit into the agricultural system, now I refer back to my work at the Farm of the Future, where our main goal is how do we develop and together work on a future-proof agricultural system. We do that in a regional context because to really work on specific agricultural systems, you have to zoom in what are the local conditions a bit. But to make a future-proof agricultural system, we actually make use of a set of 9 goals. They are listed here on the left. So multifunctional soil quality, high quality and productive system, healthy environment. Think of water, air, pollution, animal welfare, a rich biodiversity, retain finite resources, having a system that is climate adaptive and mitigating at the same time, but also very important for to be able to make farming economically viable, having a fair income, and also have farming, like our food system, our food production and food consumption connected to the society. So this is a bit the 9 goals we use to work on a future-proof farming system. And as said, this is a bit of a food system, or at least a farming system approach, or an integral approach. And it's very important to consider that there's a broad range of challenges, because only when you take that perspective, you can see that there are no simple solutions, but there are only trade-offs between the different goals you're working on. Of course, it would be nice if there's only synergies that work on all these goals at the same time, but that's not always possible. So within the Farm of the Future, we are working on a system that is, we put that also into 3 bullet points, working on an agricultural system that is productive, that is resilient, so also being able to cope with different circumstances, and maybe getting one high yield in a specific year is not that important, but it's more important that we get a more stable and resilient yield over the different years, which might be more important for food security than getting that one high yield at one point. And resilient can also be socio-economically, so not only production. And working on a system that's regenerative. And there we come to the next point, regenerative. What is regenerative? In Farm of the Future, we do not see regenerative as a goal in itself, but we see it as a quality of the agricultural system. So having a system that is able to regenerate your soil, your biodiversity, your water quality, having a positive contribution on the environment. So then the next question could be, okay, what is regenerative agriculture? And one, nice thing about it, but can also be, it has pros and cons, is that there are no strict definitions so far of regenerative agriculture. So if you would just look at the specific terminology, you could say that if in the negative, the most negative scenario of a farming system, it would be degrading your environment, your soil, your biodiversity, your water quality. Then from there, we move to the whole wave of making farming more sustainable. So keeping it at the same level, not degrading it any further. And from there, you can question if we're already there. It's a system that's able to sustain. It's also something to work on. But the next step would be to regenerate. So how can we make our farming system actually positively contribute to our environment as well? And there we will find some trade-offs at some point. So going a bit more into these definitions, because there are no strict definitions, this does give room for some interpretation. On one of the figures here, the green one in the top, it says so regenerative agricultural strict and regenerative agricultural wide. And the basic version of regenerative agriculture starts from soil health and biodiversity, and it can, depending on what is included in definitions, it can become almost like a whole future-proof farming system. And because there are no strict definitions, we also see that the debate around regenerative agriculture is actually adopted by both sides of the, let's say, spectrum of parties that are looking into the future farming system. So we see that as well, civil society and NGO parties are taking regenerative agriculture as an approach that they would like to work on and see as a future-proof system, as well as the multinational food companies like PepsiCo, Cargill, and all these kind of companies. They're also seeing it as a way to make their system more sustainable and more future-proof. And this can be a very good thing if they're talking about the same thing, but it can also be, well, you have to be careful. Are we talking about the same thing, and do we really want the same? Do we have the same ideals, or can we make that work together? Because the criticism of regenerative can also be that it's also just a bit of putting something we were already doing in a new name. So on the right bottom, you see a picture with some concepts that have been around for quite some years. The concept of agroecology, conservation agriculture, organic agriculture, climate smart agriculture. So is it just the same thing in a new, making a new phrase out of the same thing, or is it really adding something new? And that's not, I don't have the answer for that, but it's also a bit up to you. But it's good to realize that it's not completely new, but it's also just a bit of a new wave in this discussions about the future of our agri-food system. And on the left bottom, I have a picture of from the European Union, from EIT Food, and it talks about 5 principles of regenerative agriculture, talking about minimizing soil disturbance, minimizing the use of chemical inputs, maximizing biodiversity, keeping the soil covered, and adapting your system to the local environment. Then you can also question that this all is a very good first step into making your your farming system more future-proof. But criticasters also say, okay, it can also be seen as just performing good agricultural practices, because these are not things that are new, but we know that already for a long time. But we just have to see, can we make this work in practice, and how do we make sure that farmers are able to do this, to make their system more future-proof. So that's a bit of some thoughts on regenerative agriculture, what it is and what it can be. And if you want to read a bit more into that, it would be nice to also read this paper from Ken Giller, an old professor here at the university, and they made a paper about regenerative agriculture from an agronomic perspectives. And I showed these pictures, these 2 graphs here, because they indicate, the right one is about how often is regenerative agriculture mentioned in literature. And we can see that this has been spiking over the last years, actually, or this is until 2020, but I'm sure that the lines will have gone up since then. And the left graph indicates it's a bit difficult to read, because, for example, if you read the columns, they are about regenerative agriculture and regenerative farming, how often they were mentioned in books. And you see that there, actually in the 80s and 90s, it was something that came up. Then it went down a little bit and was not mentioned a lot. And then in the most recent years, it's been going up again. And the lines in the figure, they indicate like the flows of of other phrases that are mentioned a lot, like sustainable agriculture, but also agroecology and organic agriculture. And you see that there's these flows can compensate each other as well a bit. So it's not always something new, but something in a similar jacket. Then to finish off, so I gave you a little bit of short overview of what are challenges in our agri-food system, and what make sure to look from an integral approach. So I hope that you can take this along with you in this hackathon. And I would definitely encourage you to make work of a future-proof agriculture and food system, because the world really needs it. And with that as a take-homes, I would want to say, make sure you use a food systems approach, or at least an integral approach, and don't go look for silver bullet solutions. You will not find single solutions that are perfect for everything, but aim for finding balanced and weighted trade-offs. Make sure to get the balance right and actually make an integral contribution. And in that, regenerative can really be an interesting aspect, but you see it as a quality of the system and not as a dogma in itself. And it does give a lot of opportunities, but don't perceive it as something completely new. But I know in Dutch we would say, use the wind it is blowing in the sails to move forward, and to make use of the energy that's around regenerative, but make use of it towards a future-proof farming system. And remember that if it were already all easy solutions, we would have solved it a long time ago. But it's quite a complex situation, and I'm sure you're gonna learn a lot about it in this hackathon. That's for now my presentation.
Thank you very much, Leonard. If there are any questions, please write them in the chat. I wanted to ask you if you could explain a little bit more this food systems approach. What does it entail, and what should we think about?
Yes, so that's a good question, Marta. There's quite some also different perspectives on when is something a food systems approach. So from my work, we mostly look at the farming system level. So where all the different aspects come together on the farming system level, and therefore it can be relevant to look at the goals of the farm of the future, these 9 different aspects or themes that come together at the farm level. But looking at the food system approach even goes a step beyond that, and also taking into account like the major challenges regarding to food security, food and global health, and like it also includes, okay, what is the role of consumers? What is the ethical role of eating animals or animal products or not? So the whole don't only look at what's happening at the farm level, but also look beyond that. Like, what is the role of the multinational companies, of supermarkets, and how that's all connected to each other. So if you change one part of that chain or of that system, it will have effects on the other parts of the system as well. Maybe that's not the best explanation on what is a food system approach, but look beyond. Always zoom out. Make sure to zoom out enough to see the bigger picture. That's more or less what I wanted to say.
Great. Thanks for this explanation. I have a question from the chat from Elisa. What's one thing farmers can start doing right away to make their farming more regenerative?
Yes. Good question. I think one of the aspects that regenerative agriculture, and that's also related to conservation agriculture, often starts with is making sure to take care of your soil in a good way. And of course, that's probably something that all farmers will say they do, because the soils are their major capital. If they need the soils to produce good crops. But I think that looking at the different aspects of soil quality and how your cropping system and also your soil management can contribute to that, looking at the structure, looking at the chemical and look at the biological quality of your soil will be the starting point, and then have a look at how can you change your management or optimize your farming system to really let that soil thrive, because having a good soil quality can really be at the base of many of the different goals, because you need it to have a productive system, but also to have less emissions to the environment, to have a good soil biodiversity, but also to be climate adaptive, for example. Like if you have a good soil structure and your soil can retain a lot of moisture, but can also infiltrate a lot of moisture, you are also more resilient to cope with weather extremes, for example. So starting from the soil would be my recommendation.
That's a great recommendation. Thanks a lot for that. Another question related to the point that we discussed earlier is, how can you prevent getting stuck in the web of complexity while still taking the system approach? I think that's a very good question.
That's a very good question, and I don't have the perfect answer for that, I think. It's a bit about, because now talking like you need to vary between zooming out to the whole system, but also zooming in, because you need to zoom into like a specific case. And I think also in the way of this hackathon, you will work on a specific case or case study. At some point, you need to set your boundaries to know what are you discussing and what part of the system are you working on or designing. And that really helps to get it straight in what parts you can actually have an influence, because also for looking at the whole food system, you're not going to be able to look at your circle of influence. You're not going to be able to influence all of the different actors in the food system, but it's still good to know that they are there. So you need to zoom out to understand the system and how they are connected, but you need to zoom in to actually start making your approach work like bottom up a bit. So you have to start at some level where you can capture the complexity good enough. So starting from a farm system level or a field level can be a good start, but make sure to zoom out now and then to make sure you're still working in the right context.
Yeah, in the hackathon we'll be indeed starting at the farm level. So I think we already follow your advice here.
Great.
I would like to start wrapping up the Q&A with last question. I'm curious, could you mention a couple of main challenges for farmers in moving to regenerative agriculture?
That obviously depends a bit on where you would, how you would define what regenerative agriculture is. I think there's there's a few measures that might be quite easy to implement. So maybe there's not there will not be a lot of big steps they actually need to make. Others there might be more. So I think like making it a bit more general, it's always like, how do you get the knowledge about changing your systems? How do you get the knowledge? So it's getting the knowledge, but also knowing how to apply that on your farm. So it's about getting the knowledge, but also being advised on how to apply that to your farm level. And then, of course, something to consider is also what, like maybe if you would need new machinery or something, you would also need investment. And it's the question if the farmer can make that investment, if he has enough money to make that investment or not. So that can also be, the financial capital can be a burden in that. And it's also like, certainly if there's practices you want to adopt that are relatively new or a bit uncertain still, like what's going to be the effect on your business model. So if you're going to adopt new practices that might cause that you have lower production for some years, for the early years, while you still have to adopt to it, This can be a challenge that you need to overcome. Maybe you get higher prices for your products because you become organic, for example, or maybe you get other ways of financing. But these are just a few challenges that I can think of at the moment.
Okay, great. Thanks for pointing them out. I think they are a really good bridge to the hackathon part, which I'm going to present now. I know that you need to catch a train or a carpool now, so thanks a lot for being here and for telling us more about the regenerative agriculture, and have a safe trip home.
Yes,
Bye,
thank
Leonard.
you. Very welcome, and good luck all with well, at least with this info meeting. Okay.
Thank you. So I'll now move to the part which goes a little bit more into what to expect from the hackathon. Starting with a general question: what is actually this AgriFood Systems Hack? So I think it's important to know that it's a part of an initiative organized as a part of ELS network, European League for Life Sciences. So some of the participating universities are also part of this network. So as you can see at the bottom of the page, there is Institute Agro, the university in Estonia, SLU, and also Wageningen University that are co-organizing this hackathon. And we also reach out to many other universities that are in the network. So that's why you also see BOKU students and Hohenheim students in the chat. And a very warm welcome to everybody who is interested in participating. The hackathon is a blended program, which means that you spend some time working online, as well as you physically meet in Wageningen and do some group work here. And we focus on a real-life challenge in the sector, and you already know it's going to be in the field of regenerative agriculture. So I hope that Leonard made you enthusiastic about this, about this new way of thinking about agriculture and growing food. And you will be using a systems approach. We also touched upon it just a couple of minutes ago, that it's what is it about, but also how to deal with the complexity of this system. It's a hackathon, so that means it's a competition. I think it will be mostly fun and a lot of group work, but at the end there is some prize money to win, 500 euros for the best teams, and a kind of a mixed format summer school hackathon. There are also 3 study points to earn for participation. So what problem are you going to tackle in the hackathon? So we organized this hackathon in collaboration with AgriFirm and Food Valley Network. And oh, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry for a second. Was alarm on my phone. So AgriFirm is a network of farmers in the Netherlands, and they are really interested in promoting regenerative agriculture here in the Netherlands. However, they are really afraid that farmers will be a little bit reluctant to adapting it. And actually, the barriers that Leonard mentioned are also very often mentioned by people we have talked to in AgriFirm. So the access to knowledge, like the investments that are needed, but also insecurity about the about what the influence will be on the business model of the farm. So actually, what we ask you to do in the hackathon is to map all those insecurities, but also come up with solutions. So decide or design a strategy to convince farmers to make this first step toward the regenerative agriculture. So if you join the hackathon, you will, of course, hear more about what exactly the problem is. You will study it in your country, and then also participate in activities to understand what's the situation in the Netherlands. By the way, if you have questions, put them in the chat, and then I will answer them at the end. So how does it work? The first part, as I mentioned, is online. We start on 5th of June with a kickoff event online. That's where you will get to know your team members. You will hear a little bit more about the assignment. You will be able to ask the questions to the commissioner, and also you will get assignments. So a kind of way to an assignment to help you to get prepared for the physical part in the Wageningen. And the part in Wageningen is one intensive week where you do a lot of group work, but you also learn new approaches. You study the situation here in the Netherlands, and of course you present your idea to the jury to find out if you did the best job and are the winner of the hackathon. So once again, this is the timeline of the hackathon, including the kickoff event, the online work with individually and with your group, and then this intensive week with workshops, teamwork, coaching, and the finals on 11th of July. And we try to keep it fun, and there is a competition element, but I think you will also have a lot of nice time getting to know other people who are also in other teams. So a little bit about the practical information. So the challenge is open to all students from all over the Europe, I would say. The non-Wageningen students pay an admission fee. However, so it's not for participation in the hackathon, but we use this fee to arrange accommodation and food for you. So we invest all this money into those purposes. And as it's a food and accommodation fee, you can also get it reimbursed with your Erasmus Plus scholarship. I have been in contact with most of the international relationship officers from the universities that were registering for this info session so far, and I know that many of you have been already in contact with your international relationship officers. There is a registration form for the hackathon. So once you register, you get an acceptance letter for that. And with the acceptance letter, you can apply for the scholarship. Any questions about that, please put them in the chat, because I think that's the most complicated part about the hackathon. The full students don't pay a fee because they don't need an accommodation. The accommodation is a holiday park, Willerbaan. It's in Wageningen. We also provide bikes. It's around 10 minutes bike from the campus. So I think it's also a nice way of experiencing the Netherlands in the very Dutch way. And it's also a nice place to be. There's a swimming pool if the weather is good. And what is also maybe important, we ask you to arrive to Wageningen on 7th of July before 1 o'clock, because around 2, 3 o'clock we would like to start the program, and we want you to check in beforehand. And then for leaving, it's after 1 o'clock on 11th of July. That's because in that morning we'll be holding the finals of the hackathon. So if you book your travel back home earlier, you will be not able to attend that. And there is a max of students that we can accommodate, which is 25. So we aim at 5 groups of 5 people. Yes, Grace. So Grace has been part of the Biodiversity Hackathon. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago that the hackathon took place. And Grace was in the winning team, so I asked her if she would like to join and tell a little bit about her experience and why should you join.
Yeah, and feel free to ask any questions while I'm talking. I'm mostly here just to tell you, any questions that you have about why you would want to join. The Biodiversity Hackathon was a little bit of a different format, and we fit everything into 2 weeks, which was very intense, but very fun, energizing. You'll be pushed out, you'll feel out of your depth, pushed out of your comfort zone, but also very supported as you learn through it. We had 9 industry experts, basically, that we had full access to ask any questions. And then 4 more judges who were also industry experts. Yeah, I felt a bit underqualified going into the challenge because I'm a first-year bachelor student, but it wasn't an issue at all. We felt really supported. It was great to be able to ask questions from all of the experts. I encourage you guys, if you participate, to really make use of these experts. Don't feel shy about it. They're there to help you. I think that was what really helped our team really thrive, was we asked them a lot of questions. Yeah, the Student Challenges team did a great job of designing a cohesive program, really brought in relevant industry experts. It was a great learning experience. Yeah, I guess that's it. I encourage you to do it.
Thanks a lot for sharing, Grace. And can you tell a little bit, like, how was your teamwork? How was also your interaction with other teams?
Yeah, it was actually surprisingly nice. There was somebody on another team who actually very much helped us when we were 3D printing our prototype, because he understood the software way more than we did. So that was, yeah, there was just a lot of camaraderie. And even though we were all competing with each other, it was a really, really fun vibe. There was food and yeah, lots of laughter. And yeah, it was just my teammates, I'd never worked with them before, but we ended up finding a way to work well together. During the first night, there was this ideation brainstorming workshop. And I think that really set the tone. It was really fun. Yeah. So
how did you organize your work?
How do we organize our work? We kind of followed the format that you guys laid out for us. Yeah, we took it one step at a time. It started off with finding the problem that we wanted to solve. The Student Challenges team had some presentations for us to give us ideas of problems that existed. So that was really lovely. And then after we identified that, then there was a business model workshop, and then there was a prototyping night, and then we just wrote the paper and made our prototype and did the pitch.
So what do you think is like your secret of winning the hackathon?
I really think it was asking a lot of questions of the experts that you guys brought in. It was a little bit uncomfortable at first to ask them 1,000 what felt like stupid questions, but it really helped us understand the situation way better. And I think that was where our edge came from.
Okay, then my last question is, what is your next step now?
Oh, yeah. So we were contacted by a lot of the judges and even just the experts about everybody wants to help us turn our product into reality. Our next step is to meet with somebody through the Work campus and get our prototype put in some of the ponds on campus. And then kind of build a business from there. It's all very exciting and really well facilitated. So I highly encourage you guys to do it.
Well, thanks a lot, Grace. I see that there are quite some questions, but they are related to more practical parts of the hackathon. So if you stay a little bit longer, maybe there will be also some questions for you as a participant. But for now, thanks a lot for joining. So this will be my last slide, and it's about how to join the hackathon. So the registration deadline is 12th of May. However, we already have some registrations, so you might want not to wait too long because, as I told you, the maximum people we can accept is 25. Then maybe it might be important for you guys to know that you register individually, but you will be assigned to a team, and we'll try to mix the backgrounds, but also the places where you come from. So we hope to have mixed teams from different universities, and I think that will be really amazing experience to see how people from other disciplines and other universities think and approach problems. And in terms of accommodation, we'll try to see if people from the same university know each other and if they prefer to stay in one house. So still, if you want to kind of hang out with your friends, I think that will be also possible. And then I already mentioned that once you register, and I think Elisa has shared already in the chat the registration links. So once you register, we provide you a letter of acceptance, and that's what you can use to ask for your scholarship. Yeah, here you have a QR code to the website with, again, some information and the links to register. We'll share the slides from this presentation. I will also share with you a link to a very interesting 2 podcasts about regenerative agriculture that might be really nice warming up for this hackathon. We'll also share the registrations links with you. And I think I can now open the floor for questions. And I saw 2 of them in the chat. I think first one is about getting funding from other sources than Erasmus funding. And this is very dependent on your university. So it's different in Wageningen and in Hohenheim than in Bochum. So that will be very much about discussing it with your international relationship officer and seeing what is available for students from your university. Yeah, I think I don't have anything to add on that one. And then there's another question for the registrations form. What do we put? What do we put for year of study? Okay, so I don't remember very well. I thought that you can choose between bachelor and master, and then say if you are first, second, or third or fourth year of master. If that's not the case, then maybe you could just count. So like first year bachelor, and then first year of master would be 5th year of study, and second year of master will be 6th year of study. I think it's also not super important, but I think it gives a little bit of an idea of like how can we put 2 teams together. And what is the home address of our? Oh yeah, the address is your home address, because that's where you get your invoice. Then I see another question: how relevant would the content of this hackathon be for food technology students with no previous experience with regenerative agriculture? So honestly, I have no knowledge and experience about regenerative agriculture. It's also very new to me. I think it's really interesting topic, and I think the hackathon will very much focus on this food systems approach way of thinking. So how do you actually analyze the system from a more holistic way of looking? So if that's interesting for you, and you also, there will be some focus on kind of theory of change, and how do you motivate different actors in the sector, and what are the kind of incentives that motivate them. So that there will be also some elements of that in the hackathon. Furthermore, we'll do an excursion to a farmer, and well, I think there's also a very nice experience of getting to know other people. So I think it's a little bit up to you to decide if that's relevant for you. It's I think it's very interesting, but if you look for a very direct link with your study program, well, you need to decide for yourself how well it matches. Yeah, I see no other questions in the chat. Am I missing something, Elisa? No? Okay. Well, we maybe just I give you a minute more to think if you have something else to ask. And in the meantime, I will share with you the results of the poll that we ran, because I know that we didn't manage to publish it. So we asked, are you already familiar with regenerative agriculture? And 58 people said that they are. So that means that there are 41% of people who are not yet familiar with the regenerative agriculture. Okay, so I think I will be wrapping up for now. I would like to thank Grace. Oh, there's one more question in the chat. Okay, let me just see. what was last year's winning product and the topic of the hackathon? Okay, so this is the first time that we organize this hackathon in this format. So a kind of blended program of one intensive week in Wageningen. We have run 3 hackathons, which were, as Grace explained, 2-week programs on different topics. So we had one about textiles, biodiversity, and organic waste. So I'm not really sure if that really well compares to what you are going to do in this hackathon. But if you're looking for an answer, what will be the result of this hackathon, we're looking for a kind of piece of advice for the agri-firm on what their strategy should be. So I think there'll be a kind of report where you present your solution. And we also look for a creative way of presenting your advice to the stakeholders. And I think we can also share in the email some links to the results of the previous hackathons, which are quite different from what we'll be doing here, but might give you some idea. Where did you say you will share the podcast? In the email. So we'll follow up with an email with a couple of links. Okay. There's one more chat question. No. Well, it was great to meeting you. You can always email us. I will be staying for a couple of minutes more online for chatting if you have some chat questions. And for now, I would like to close the meeting. I hope to see you in the registration form and then first online and then in Wageningen in July. Thanks for attending and thanks, Grace. Have a great day. Bye-bye.